I am California of the past.
I
I
am
am
California of the past.
I am California of the past.
I've had many rewarding opportunities during my 30-year career working at the SJSU Library. One of the most rewarding and sometimes challenging assignments I've had was head of the Chicano Library Resource Center and Cultural Heritage Center. Everyone recalls significant incidents or milestones in one's life. Examples include, do you recall what you were doing when you learned that John F. Kennedy was assassinated? And do you remember where you were and what you were doing when the 9/11 bombings took place? I recall quite clearly an incident that happened at San Jose State in the late 1970s. It's one of those kinds of incidents or milestones in one's life. Two student organizations were vying for power to represent Latino students at San Jose State. One of these groups was El Concilio, which was headed by Reyes Ortega and now his wife, Rebecca Ornelas. El Concilio had worked for several months with campus and library administrators to get a space for a Chicano library. The students had worked quietly and patiently, but there was little progress. In the spring of 1979, students began marches around campus to gain support for the library. The marches gained larger and larger crowds. I recall them quite clearly. The students were organized, well organized, and they were very loud. They chanted and marched around campus in the halls throughout the entire SJSU campus, and especially in the Walquist Library. Spartan Daily reporter Maureen Johnson reported on one rally in support of the proposed Chicano Resource Center in an April 4, 1979 article in the Spartan Daily. A rally and march of about 120 persons was held yesterday at SJSU by El Concilio to show support for the proposed Chicano Resource Center. El Concilio is an umbrella organization for the 10 Chicano organizations on campus. The group marched into the SJSU library yesterday at about 1:30 p.m., carrying signs reading Semana Chicana Supports Resource Center, chanting Chicano Power and Raza C. Olson No. Raza C. Olson No was a refrain that was heard over and over in those weeks, not just in the library, but on the walkways and hallways throughout the campus. The marchers wound through the library hallways to meet with Library Director Harold Olson about establishing the Chicano Resource Center. There's no space for a Chicano library in this library, Olson told the crowd. Another article about the conflict appeared in the Independent Weekly. Writer Michael Medina reported, tensions and tempers flared at a recent library committee meeting in which the Chicano organization El Concilio continued their efforts to have a Chicano Resource Center created in the library. The marches went on for weeks. Eventually, the students marched on the president's office. President Gail Fullerton accepted the students' request, and in late April, a task force began preparations for the creation of the Chicano Library. The Chicano Library Resource Center grew over the years and is now an important component of the Cultural Heritage Center of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library and the campus. Information about the history and documentation about the history of the center is available on the center's website. I am proud to have been a part of that history.